So let's turn our attention now back to the United States, where we started this bulletin, where a new leader is to be elected. The final U.S. presidential debate is just hours away, as we said earlier. For more on that anticipated showdown, let's cross to SABC Correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease in New York. Sherwin, so with over 40 million votes already cast, we've been following the early votes. The question we keep repeating is, how much does this final debate really matter? Given that the airwaves have also been saturated with the positions of both sides for months.
Well, there'll certainly be an element of fatigue for news junkies like yourself and I, Francis. We've been following this closely because that's kind of the job. And there are lots of sort of political folk out there that have been following this for as many years as these campaigns have been going on. But, you know, think of the boiler worker in eastern Pennsylvania, or the frontline worker in central New Mexico, or a farmer in southern Idaho who perhaps hasn't been as in tuned to this election, perhaps as you and I are. And so, you know, if you're a Trump supporter, what you are seeking from this debate is really for the president to land some blows against Biden's ascendancy. Certainly, if the polls are to be believed, he's had a commanding and a stable commanding lead in the national polls, and also has the edge consistently in a number of important swing states that are absolutely critical for President Trump's hand on a second term. And if you're a Biden supporter, you'll be watching this debate because you want to ensure that that lead is maintained, and that, you know, this former vice president that at times is prone to gaffes doesn't make any missteps that can allow the president to close in on the lead that he's enjoyed in the last number of months. But for a taste of what might come out from either nominee tonight, let's watch this.
That pandemic is rounding the corner. They hate it when I say it. You know, you turn on to this MSDNC and fake news CNN, all you hear is COVID, 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 COVID. That's all they put on because they want to scare the hell out of everyone. And we will have 100 million vaccine doses before the end of this year. I will deliver optimism, opportunity, and hope. Biden will deliver pessimism, poverty, and decline.
Keeps telling us that this virus is going to disappear like a miracle. He said, I think last night in his town hall, I didn't have the pleasure of hearing it. I was doing one myself. He said, we have turned the corner. As my grandfather Finnegan might say, we were here, he said, he's gone around the bend. Turn the corner. My Lord. It's not disappearing. In fact, it's on the rise again. It's getting worse, as predicted.
And of course, the moderator, Kristen Welker of NBC News, she's a White House correspondent. She'll be leading that discussion. She's chosen topics, Francis. Of course, as you heard, they're including COVID-19, American families, race in America, climate change, national security, leadership. But despite the fact that microphones will be muted in terms of the new rules that have been published by the Presidential Debates Commission, if one mic is live, you'll probably be able to hear the other person talking over them, despite the fact that, the president or Biden's mic will be muted. So it will certainly make for excellent viewing television.
Yeah, especially if they shout across the room. Sherwin, looking at the messaging, so we saw it in action there. The Democrats have been focusing and probably will continue to focus on the pandemic, which they believe is an indictment on the president's leadership. He maybe will tout the economy, the economic credentials he has. He points to his economic success over and over again. Who has the stronger argument here?
Well, the president talks about, certain news channels in this country focusing on COVID-19. But the reason we focus on the pandemic and to such a great extent in the United States specifically is because 230,000 people have died, Francis. I mean, that number is an extraordinary number. I mean, if you were to line those bodies up, they wouldn't fit on a number of rugby fields. It's an extraordinary number of dead in this country as a result of, people talk about mismanagement, the lack of leadership here. So that is something that Joe Biden will be honing in on. But you're absolutely right that the president will try to moved towards talking more about the economy before the virus, right? This was a red-hot economy. Unemployment had reached 50-year lows. The president definitely has an argument to make. Democrats, of course, will argue that he inherited a great foundation from his predecessor, Barack Obama, who, of course, inherited a recessionary economy when he took office in 2008 from George Bush. So, there's certainly an economic argument to be made on both sides. The president, of course, also complaining about the topics in this debate. He believes that this should be a discussion about foreign policy. He believes they've made good progress in terms of Israel's relations with various Middle Eastern countries. You'll have seen last week that Sudan was removed from the state sponsor of terror list in the United States. So he feels that there are some victories to talk about in terms of foreign policy. So watch the president peg from Joe Biden's focus on coronavirus to things that he feels more confident and that will certainly be able to resonate better with his supporters, Francis.
All right, thank you very much, Sherwin Bryce-Pease. We have to leave it there, but hopefully that has whet your appetite. We will be taking, as SABC News, that presidential debate live. You can watch the analysis from 2:30 this morning, and then the debate itself live at 3 o'clock in the morning, if you're up for it.